Hello and welcome to Para Norleans, the Paranormal New Orleans podcast, where we tell stories of the strange, the spooky, the scary, the unexplained, and otherworldly from across New Orleans, Louisiana, and beyond. I am your hostess, Fat Girl Freestyle. Today is July 22nd, my 49th birthday. This is season 2, episode 10 of Paranorleans. We have 2 more episodes to go before we close out season 2. I certainly hope you have enjoyed these episodes, and I hope you decide to come back for season 3. Please make sure you are following the podcast on Spotify or whatever platform you're listening on. But also make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, Fat Girl Freestyle channel, because these episodes post to a playlist over on YouTube. So again, I thank you for being here, especially today on my 49th birthday. So, as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy Para Norleans. I'm talking to you from my hospital bed. Why me being in the hospital has anything to do with the paranormal or the strange, you're probably wondering. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to break it down and explain it to you. I just first need you to know that I was a healthy woman once, vibrant, full of energy. I was like that well into my mid-50s. I've been single, no kids, focused on my education and my career throughout my life. And then for whatever reason, I get the bright idea to start dating. I get the idea that maybe I might want to get married finally. Because who wants to spend their life alone, right? Nobody talks about the consequences or the dangers of inviting people into your life. We automatically assume that because we're a human dating another human, that we're okay, that things are perfectly normal, that it's absolutely fine. Because this is what humans do. We're supposed to connect and match up and date and get married and build a life. I'm here in this hospital bed telling you that there are monsters in human form. And I don't mean monsters in the sense of things that you may see in movies. I'm talking about monsters that are much worse. People talk about vampires in a romanticized way. And I'm going to tell you why I'm bringing up vampires, because they are very real. They exist, and people want you to believe that they don't. People want you to believe that there's some thing that's made up, something that started from a legend thousands of years ago that people just took and twisted it and ran with it. But no, vampires are very real. And I'm not talking about in the sense of True Blood or Twilight or even Gary Oldman in the movie Dracula. Nah, not in that sense. Those stories are too pretty, too nice, too wrapped up in a bowl to make it more palatable. For you to get in your mind this sense of comfort and, oh my goodness, I would be loved to be loved by a vampire, bitten in a romantic, sexy way, living forever, going through life together. Get that shit out of your mind right now. Because the real vampires, the real vampires steal your soul. They steal your very essence. I'm not crazy. I've already told you that I am a well-educated woman, one experienced in life, and one who doesn't believe in frivolous things or foolish tales. But had I not experienced this for myself, I would have never believed. So please, please take what I am getting ready to share with you as a warning, and this is for any woman, especially, but anyone can take the lesson, but this is for women especially. Please take heed so you don't end up like me. Now, it took me a while to learn what I'm getting ready to share with you, because I had to go deep, dig deep, and research to write it down. Save it however you have to, but don't ever forget it. This ordeal started for me 5 years ago. Like I said, I decided that I wanted to get into the dating world again. I wanted to myself out there and find someone, a partner, a lover, someone to build with. I was on about 3 or 4 dating sites at a time. I went to events geared towards single people. I was putting the energy out there into the universe. But it wasn't the universe that responded. It was something else. His name was Frederick, or so he told me. His name was Frederick. He worked in the same industry as I did, and immediately got excited because, well, of course, automatically we would have so many things to talk about. We met on one of the dating apps. Delete those, by the way. If you're on any of them, delete them all. And don't ever go back. Because dating apps have become their new hunting ground. Dating apps have made it easy for them to target exactly who they want. They don't have to go out into the night anymore hunting, looking, searching. We have put it at their fingertips. We have given them the ultimate access to their prey. Like a human zoo. Except we are the ones that are being stared at through the triple paned glass. Let me calm down. I don't want to get myself too worked up. It's very hard for me to recover these days when I expend a lot of energy. Please know that it took a long time for me to want to share this. Because who's going to believe you, right? Who's going to believe that you met a fucking vampire on a dating app? But it's not for you to believe or disbelieve or even take heed. Maybe this is more for me as a reminder that if I finally make it through this, to never ever look back. So Frederick and I meet on this dating app, and I felt an instant connection even through just sending messages. And I realize now that it was him manipulating the energy of those moments. You see, some of them are so powerful. They can do that. They can focus on you even though they've never met you in person, even though they've never heard your voice. They can focus in on you and manipulate your energy, especially if you are in a vulnerable state. And I've already told you I was in a vulnerable state because I was searching, seeking. I wanted someone. I felt like I needed someone. Instant connection. Be leery of those because that's normally the first sign. After a few days of messaging on the dating app, I finally sent him my phone number. And I can very clearly recall the moment I heard his voice. He plugged into me some type of way because I remember when he started talking, I could hear a buzzing in my ear, almost inaudible, but it was there. I ignored it because I just thought, I'm getting older. There's a lot of strange things that come with it. It's another problem. I dismissed a lot of my symptoms because of perimenopause. We agreed to meet up the next day for a very casual, non-committal lunch date. And because I was already feeling that connection, feeling like I had to have this man in my life, feeling like, wow, maybe I finally found him. I continued to ignore that feeling, that tiny, tiny voice that kept whispering to me, something isn't right. I gave it over to me being nervous. Because after all, I hadn't dated in a long time. We met up the next day, and this is where things really begin to get strange. As if they weren't strange enough already, right? I went into the restaurant and picked a table. I sat. I ordered some wine. I'd gone a little early because I wanted a few moments to myself. I felt him before I saw him, before he even walked into the restaurant. I felt him much like someone has tied a string to your finger and they've left it dangling, but then they decide to start pulling on it. Not aggressively, but very slowly. They're taking the slack out of the line, and you feel it. I remember putting my hand in the center of my chest because that's where I felt the feeling the strongest. And I remember turning to look out of the window. And suddenly I heard his voice say my name. Desiree. But this, this part, I didn't hear him say it like I'm talking to you right now. I heard him say it in my mind. It filled my entire head. There was no space for any other thought. Desiree. Just saying it and thinking about that moment, my brain is tingling. I turned and I looked at him. And just for a couple of seconds, I saw a different face, like a glitch in a television screen. But then he smiled and his face was normal. He was talking to me like a regular person, not in my head. I stood up and I reached out my hand. And before our fingertips could even touch, I felt that line snap tight. And that was it. That first meeting was really a blur for me. That beginning that I just told you is really all I remember. As the weeks passed, we began spending more time together. And I'm not usually a woman that rushes things, but he was already living in my home with me by the third month. All of my friends and loved ones were shocked because I never moved that fast. I'm a woman of logic, of sensibility. But once a vampire marks you, once they attach that line to your energy, there's hardly any way to escape it. He wanted to be a part of everything that I had going on. He was assuming this role in my life that I thought I finally have someone who is supportive. I finally have someone who is on the same level as I am. But I'm telling you, don't make that mistake because it's all a ploy. It's part of their glamour, as they call it, the illusion that they create to make you believe things that aren't true. By the 6th month, we were engaged. Before the year passed, we were married. And that is when things truly took a turn. It was getting harder for me to get up out of bed in the morning, but yet he seemed so full of energy and life. He wanted to do all of these things. And some days I could barely put my clothes on. Now, my family were born and raised in Louisiana. So some of them recognized some things. When I went back home for a visit, I remember my great aunt Pearl barely could see, couldn't walk anymore. We were having a family gathering and I introduced her to Frederick. She refused to shake his hand. She refused to even speak to him, instead choosing to look at me and saying, You need to set yourself free, Chef. You don't know what you done got attached to. I really thought it was just an old woman's superstition. I should have listened. Frederick basically charmed everyone at the party. I had family members calling, texting, sending DMs on social media, telling me about how wonderful he seemed, how happy they were that I had finally found someone. The whole time, my health is declining. My sanity is starting to follow right along with it. In the meantime, he was thriving. Bought a new vehicle, bought new clothes, new jewelry, treated himself to all sorts of nice things, all the while telling me, since we'd gotten married, I'd let myself go. I started having to work most of my days from home because it was all I could do to just make it to my office at home and keep myself propped up in my desk chair for 8 to 10 hours a day. And all the while, he's looking more youthful and energetic as ever. By the third year, I'd looked like I'd aged 10 years. And don't get me wrong, he was never aggressive, as in physical violence. No, no, no. He never had to do that because everything was energetic. It was mental. And one day I brought up to him the fact that I was feeling steadily worse since the day we got married. My health was obviously declining rapidly, and I did not know why. I'd been healthy all my life. And he turned and he looked at me, and that face that I know I saw for those few seconds, that very first time we met, that face was looking at me. and I was frozen in place. And whatever it was, because it wasn't Frederick, it wasn't the man that I was married to, it was something else. It was staring at me, smiling, lips curled up at the sides, teeth looking ridiculously large, eyes dark. It just smiled and stared and said nothing. And then it was back to Frederick's regular face. And it said, "Don't worry, love. It'll be over soon." And he touched my arm. I felt this burning sensation. And I was truly frightened. And my aunt's words came back to my mind. You don't know what you've attached yourself to. I had to figure it out though, because if not, I wasn't going to make it. I immediately found a spiritual practitioner, gathered up the minimal strength I had remaining, and I went to see her. And as soon as she looked at me, she knew what I was dealing with. A parasite is what she called it. We call them vampires because it sounds good. It sounds mysterious. It sounds sexy. But they're just parasites that siphon off your energy while you struggle to stay alive, and they give you just enough nutrients to keep going. And she told me something very profound. She said, "You almost to your end, and he will discard you and be off to the next one." You see, up until that point, I had believed that vampires were singular people, that they themselves were the vampires. But she told me differently. It's their energy that can be shared amongst many. many can be shared amongst millions. This energy is massive. She said vampires are not creatures that have existed on this earth for thousands of years. Vampires are those who decide that it's best to attach themselves to someone else who has already done the work of becoming stable, of becoming productive, of becoming successful, of becoming healthy, of becoming wealthy, of becoming everything that they cannot do themselves. That is how a vampire is created. Not through bite, not through an exchange of blood. That makes the story too pretty, too neat, because we don't want to believe that people we love and adore and people that we hold close, we don't want to believe that they are parasites sucking the very life from our bodies. Destroying everything that they cannot create for themselves. And if you thought that this was about some mysterious creature from legend and folklore, you're wrong. This is an ancient spiritual energy that has been around since the story of Cain and Abel. Even before that, the serpent in the garden with Adam and Eve. Wanting to destroy anything good, anything bright and beautiful, anything vibrant and full of life, because it can't create it for itself. I had to go through a very difficult process of cutting that tie between us. And it began with me realizing that I did not need him in my life, that I was enough on my own, that I was valuable and my life was important, my contribution, my purpose did not diminish because I was single or because I wasn't married. My value didn't diminish because I wasn't attached to a man. The stronger I got in that belief, the weaker the connection got between the two of us. Did I pray? Absolutely. And every day I had to remind myself that I was worthy and valuable, and I mattered, and I was already a whole person without him. Things got bad for a while because he realized he was losing his tether to me. He was losing his access to the benefit of being with me. And little by little, I was able to cut him off until eventually he moved on, like many parasites do. But I wasn't completely drained of life. I'm recovering, gaining more and more strength back slowly but surely. It is a process. Eventually, I will be back to my whole self. But it takes a lot of effort, which is why I'm laying here telling you, be careful. Because again, vampires aren't these sweet, loving, romantic, I'm going to protect you, we can live forever together. That isn't the real story. The real story is they come to drain you, to survive off of your resources. They come to destroy you because they can't build anything for themselves. And they come in many forms because, again, this is an ancient energy from biblical times. It can be your parent, your sibling, your spouse, your children, even those we consider our best friends. Just be mindful and aware. Some of them realize what they are and they use it to their advantage. And there are those that don't realize. Which is why you have to educate yourself. Which is why you have to protect yourself, which is why the best thing to do is to know that you are whole and complete. You don't need anyone's validation. And please, please be aware that this is a spiritual battle. Regardless of what your belief is, it does not negate the fact that we are at war in spirit, not in flesh and blood. And that the easiest way to attack you is through spiritual means. I learned in just enough time, but there are many who don't. Please, please, I beg you, don't be one of those that learns far too late. Listeners, I hope you have taken heed to today's story. While it is not a paranormal tale, it is certainly one that is spiritual. We are dealing with parasites in every aspect of our lives these days. And it's important for us to pay attention and be aware, because those vampires aren't always those creatures that only come out in the cover of night. They are very often the ones that smile in our faces in the broad daylight. This has been Season 2, Episode 10 of Paranorleans with your hostess, Fat Girl Freestyle. We have 2 more episodes to go before Season 2 comes to a close. If you would like your story to be featured as one of the 2 final episodes, please email me at fatgirlfreestyle@gmail.com. Or feel free to DM me on one of my platforms, which is also Fat Girl Freestyle, Instagram, and my TikTok is still up for now. If you find it within yourself to support my content, Venmo and Chime at Fat Girl Freestyle, Zelle and Apple Pay, fatgirlfreestyle@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, Fat Girl Freestyle channel. Also, make sure you're following again on Instagram, Fat Girl Freestyle, and on Facebook, Fat Girl Freestyle. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you are following here on Spotify and whatever platform you are listening on. Share these episodes. Tell your family and friends about Paranorleans. And as always, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. Take heed. Be aware and protect yourselves out there. Until next time, this has been Fat Girl Freestyle. And I love you.